Hello, good morning. How are you? Myself, Sunny. Today we are going to start a new topic of Class 8 Science Physics Chapter Force and Pressure. So today we will study the Physics Chapter Force and Pressures. Before starting the topic, I warm welcome to you all. So now let's start it. What is a force? Let me tell you what you will probably read in your textbooks. That force is a push or pull upon an object, right? While this cannot be classified as incorrect, but it hardly explains anything about the concept of force. This means this is what you will assume after reading these definitions. You will imagining a stationary object on the ground and someone pushing it or pulling it. Yes, when force is applied, the stationary object will move. But this does not mean explain the concept of force entirely. Before we move on the definition of force, let's clear a few misconceptions about it. Let me ask you a question. The ball is lying at the rest on the ground. That means stationary or not moving. Is there any force acting on it? Listen to my question carefully. Are there any force acting on the ball when it is stationary? If your answer was no, or if you don't know, it means you don't know the concept of force yet. This answer is yes, there are a force acting on this ball. There is a gravitational force which is trying to push or pull the ball toward the center, and the ground is applying an equal force exactly on opposite direction. This force is called a normal force. One second is gravitational force, because there are two forces are balanced. They do not change the position of an object. The net force is acting on the ball is zero, and so what does this mean? Just humans pushing or pulling is not the only kind of force, and just because there are force acting on an object will not mean the object will move for the substance. This means it's less clear. Now let me say a person softly kicks the ball. What happened is yes, the position of the ball changed. Why did this position change? Because there was another magnitude of the force acting on it, and this time the force were not balanced. The ball moved and there was a displacement. This means, but hold on, what is the ball stopping moving? Covering 15 meters, the ball started moving at a place and slowly come to a halt. If there is no force from another side, how did it stop? When there was a force which stopped it, yes, was there a friction? It was a friction that stopped the ball. While the force you applied was toward the right, the force of the friction was toward the left. Let's make it even more interesting. Assume your screen to be big frames of the reference of this example. Let's be clear. Also assume that this is straight horizontal, a frictionless floor. There is no air resistance. The ball appears from the left of your screen and moving toward the right at a uniform velocity of 2 meters per second. The only two forces acting on the ball are the gravitational force and the normal force, which net each other out. This means in the setting will the ball ever stopping moving? No, it won't. It will continue to move along the same path at the same speed unless there is another external force which acts on it. They here as a force are balanced, and this ball will continue to move 2 meters per second. Most of the people assume if the object there is some net force acting on it, and that's not true. An object will continue to move at uniform velocity even if the net force is on its zero. So there are two things we have to learn here. First, if the object is stationary and the net force acting on it is zero, then it will be continue to remain at the rest. Second, if the object is moving at a uniform velocity and the net force acting on it is zero, then it will continue to move at the same uniform velocity. Now, when the ball is moving at a 2 meters per second, but there is external force applied from the left, what will happen? Yes, the ball will accelerate, right? Correct? Velocity will change. Let's say the velocity changed to 3 meters, that is 2 meters. Now it's 3 meters. After external force is applied, after that, the ball will continue to move at the 3 meters per second unless acted upon by another external force. So nobody really seen or touched the force. 100% right? It can only be understood by knowing what happens on it when object force is applied. The body is stationary. Do not assume that there is no force, and the body is in uniform motions. So do not assume there is some net force acting on it. So what is a force? Let me clear. Force is a push or acting on a body which tends to change its state of rest or motions is called force. Force is usually denoted by the letter F. The direction in which the body is pushed or pulled is called the direction of the force. The standard unit of force is called Newton, denoted by the letter N. It must be remembered that the force does not always make an object move. For example, you can push a large rock without displacing it from its position. So today we will discuss this point. Tomorrow we will discuss the force and are due to interactions, type of force, contact force, muscular force, frictional force, magnetic force, electrostatic force, unit force, gravitational force, then resultant force. So today's now for today it's, and after that we will continue this chapter. So thank you for